We're live. Hey, everybody. How's it going? I hope you are having an amazing start to your week. And we're going to be talking about mindset, business, empowerment, and maybe a little bit rambling tonight. Tonight's guests are Tasha, Ina Church, and Charlene Bosworth. Tasha is first up joining me tonight from the island of Maui in Hawaii, which is one of
Yes.
my absolute favoriteest places. And in this amazing swinging hammock, I love it.
Happy to be here.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah,
So
no,
happy to have you here.
thank you. No, it's really great. I'm so grateful to be on. I had such a wonderful time at the summit. It was awesome. For those of you that didn't attend, you should come to the next one.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We are actually a little bit behind the eight ball because we had intended to get the registration forms up and the landing pages up for the next one, but that didn't quite happen, but it's coming. I've been working on that for the last 2 days. And Beth Elkasay says hi. So hello, Beth.
Hey, Beth. How's it going?
Yeah, so happy to have you back here. So tell everybody a little bit about what it is that you do, because I think it's a very interesting field. And I think that there's a lot of misconceptions around what it is that you do.
Yes. So my classification is I'm an empowerment coach, and I focus on empowerment training and empowerment self-defense. So a lot of times when we hear self-defense, we think martial arts, and it's what's your martial arts style? And so for me, I actually studied lots of martial arts styles. I studied 7 styles of Japanese martial arts, Tai Chi, boxing, and did warrior spirit training with Sylvester Stallone's trainer from Rocky. And I also did a certification called Empowerment Self-Defense through ESD Global. So it's a global gender-based violence prevention. And basically, their curriculum is 40 years old. It's a 40-year evidence-based, research-based curriculum. And it's designed by women for women and other vulnerable communities. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I absolutely love it. I've combined it with the my main style that I studied was Aikido, but I cross-trained. So what I wanted to do was bring together practical self-defense moves for everyday living. So as you can see, I am wearing just regular clothes, and I like teaching my students in whatever they normally wear. So I worked with real estate agents where they are wearing 3-piece suits. And I've worked with runners who are dressed in runner's gear. And I have worn dresses with 3-inch heels so that I can demonstrate the moves and show this actually works, even if you're wearing 3-inch heels. So, yeah.
And what's really cool to me about this is that it's the practical side. It's not the, hey, here, let me axe kick you to the head.
Exactly. Can I do a double axe kick? Yes. Will it?
Yeah, that's not going to work real well in a suit and 3-inch heels.
Yeah. So for me, what I really love about it is I know from personal experience that it works. And I think that a lot of the women who come into my classes, they're coming in because if they went to a dojo, it would feel either uncomfortable, intimidating, being surrounded by a lot of men. Maybe they had a history, maybe something happened, and just being taught by men doesn't feel as authentic or good or safe. And so I like creating a safe space for women to be bold, to try new things, to get out of their comfort zone, but then also in a healthy way so that they can do it and feel empowered while they're doing it.
Mm-hmm. And I thought what was interesting the other day, you were giving some hints and tips that I thought were particularly helpful, because if it ever gets to the point of being physical, it's gone too far.
Absolutely. So here's a statistic not a lot of people know, but 75% of all physical confrontations could have been avoided during the feel out stage with a verbal communication. So do you know what the feel out stage is? Do you remember?
It's, well, I'll let you describe, but it's
yeah. So if I was
early.
to come up and be like, hey, Haley, I really want to make an appointment with you. You're so amazing. You're so wonderful. But all I have is like 8 p.m. Can I come by? Is that okay? And you're just like, ew, not comfortable with that. That would be a feel out question where someone is asking you something to see if they can get away with it, to see if they can push the limits. Oh, can I come into your house? Oh, you know, this, we had such a good time. Would you meet me at this location? And you've never been to that location before. You know, oh, let me pick you up and I'll drive you, when you've never met this person before. So there's all of these little cues that we could be thinking about and just processing. So I know that definitely with victims, a lot of times there's this self-blame of, oh my God, I could have done this, I could have done that. I had a client this last weekend who she was running and somebody came up behind her and grabbed her. And you know, one of the first things that she was told when she was running, or when she was explaining what happened, was, oh, did you have your headphones in? And well, you know, it's a good tip. Do you want to have both headphones on? Maybe not. Maybe you just want to have one earbud in, or you want to have the volume lower. The first thing should not
But
be
that's not helpful
that
if you're
it's not. No, it's
processing
victim.
an event. Yes.
Yeah, it's considered victim blaming. So when you are in this situation, and a lot of men, what they do is they want to fix things. So, you know, if there's, I see you rolling your eyes like, yes, I know this. My partner of 7 years, his goal in life, if I have a problem, is like, let's fix it. And there are certain things that are great. It's like, yes, do my oil.
Right. Here, go take care of this for me. Go kill that mouse or that spider for me while I'm climbing on the counter. But yes, there are certain things you just can't fix. Fortunately, my husband of 28 years has gotten really good at listening and nodding.
Yes. Yeah. So my partner of 7 years, he's been great of just sitting and listening when I'm venting about something or had an aha moment. Sometimes that's just better. So allowing my clients to process in our sessions, you know, because I'll do sessions over Zoom and I'll do sessions in person depending on the situation. And so it's nice for them to be able to have that moment where they can just process what happened, and then also move forward into, you know, okay, so we're in this space. You survived, you're here, you made it. That means you did something right in order to make it here. Now what? So I like working with women and letting them know, okay, you know, you did something right, you're here, you're present. Now, where do we go from here? And what are the different steps that we need to take in order for you to feel your most powerful, your most bold? And I mean, this has been a personal journey for me as well. So I really love being able to help women on their pathway to empowerment.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think one of the things that has been most enlightening for me, because as you know, my younger daughter is a 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo and has competed a lot and in fighting. And, you know, it's interesting because even that, you know, I think one of the things that has been most hammered home to her is that, you know, just because, you know, you could kill somebody with your bare hands doesn't mean that you should, or it doesn't make you perfectly safe all the time, you know. And if the guy has a knife or a gun, it's really better to avoid the situation. And
Yes.
being hyper aware of your surroundings. She lives in Cincinnati and she goes to Xavier. And the area right off campus is in a very poor part of town and it's got a lot of crime.
Yeah.
So you can't just go wandering alone at night.
Yeah. So there's different aspects to that, to unpack, especially when it comes to artists. There is this preconceived notion of like, I'm invincible. They've done studies on martial artists who have actually been attacked. And because of the fact that their training, there are rules in martial arts. I've been in a dojo, I studied, I taught. There are rules in martial arts. There are rules when you're fighting. There are no rules out there.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone is
Street
coming
fighting
up
is
to
very
you,
different.
yeah, it's very, very different. And the other thing too, for me, a lot of times people don't necessarily know this, but between 85 and 90% of people who attack you are people who you know. So do you want to kill that person? Probably not.
Yeah.
There's lots of different scenarios that come up, especially when it comes to drinking, being under the influence, all of these other things, date rape in, when it comes to teenagers or college students, the numbers are really, really high. I was just seeing Elizabeth was saying something. Yes. Just a thing, Elizabeth, I was just going to mention. So for me, I try and stress that I give people choices instead of tips, because when you are in a situation, you want to have as many choices as possible. And a lot of times with a tip, it's like, okay, you do this, you're
every
set.
single time you're great.
Every single time you're great. And so I actually have a mother who I'm working with, and she had an incident with her 2-year-old in a grocery store where a homeless man kept on trying to touch her 2-year-old's hair and say how pretty she was, and he was trying to pick her up. And and I just see your face changing, Haley. You're like that mom mode, like it's coming out.
I have 4 kids, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, if somebody came up to my kids, I would have been like, do not.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And so
Mama bear, well,
yeah,
still comes out clearly.
So just thinking about that, how many times do you do that for yourself though? How many times do you step up when it comes to a situation that you're in that suddenly you're feeling uncomfortable? Mm-hmm. Now I know from comments that you've made on social media, you step up to the plate really well. I've watched those. I'm like, boop, okay, she's got it.
Got about a swing, but I mean, that's through many years of conditioning.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, kitty.
Hi, Jinx. Yes. Are you hungry? So this is Jinx. She's my oldest daughter's kitty, who apparently thinks that cat food is insufficient, but cat treats are really awesome. So I'll shake a couple over the cat food and then she'll eat the cat food.
That's great. Well, yeah. So just getting back on that, I'm a huge cat lover, but for when it comes to these different situations, it does take time. It takes a lot of time to condition yourself. It's been a process for me. Mm-hmm. I grew up with 2 parents who both studied Goju-ryu, and so they both taught. My mom is this spitfire, and she used to do slap boxing with all of my brother's friends at parties and stuff, and her hands are like fast as lightning still. She's just awesome. I love her. But somewhere along the way, I turned into this total people pleaser. I was like, oh my God, I just, I don't want to make anybody mad. I'm just trying to do the right thing. And when I was 15, I met one of my brother's friends, and over a period of a few years, I found out that he had been stalking me. So I actually originally went into martial arts because I confronted this person who was 6'2", over 230 pounds, and was in the military, had been in the military and special forces. So for me, I just was like, okay, I have these great skills because my parents, they they were very bold, and they taught me how to use my words very well. But I thought, my God, if he had taken a swing at me, I would have been a goner, because as much as I did slap boxing and they would show me a move here and there, I wasn't practicing on a weekly basis martial arts or something like that. So I ended up going into a martial arts school, and that was the start of a journey. But even there, I ended up experiencing a lot of different scenarios where it was just predominantly all men. And I thought, my God, this is something where if I was in a situation, would this really work? I mean, if I'm wearing 3-inch heels and a dress, would this really work? And most of the time it wouldn't. No. I actually had a self-defense partner. His name was Lee Villay-san, and he was Laotian. He was awesome. He studied Chinese martial arts as well. And I actually dressed up in a dress and high heels, and I would have him attack me. And we went through all the moves that we knew. And then based off of that, I pulled moves and put them into a curriculum for women and girls.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Something I support 1,000%.
Yeah, it was, it was a huge learning experience for me. I actually ended up coming to that conclusion because I used to go salsa dancing, and he was my salsa dancing partner. So he was a safe partner. He was like an older brother. But in the salsa dancing community up in Seattle, there were 3 main salsa families, and they had this thing of like who could sleep with the new girl. And so I was not interested in sleeping with anyone. I really wanted to just dance. And so I made that very clear. So for a full year, I had set all these boundaries. They knew I did martial arts, and I felt like I was safe. And then someone asked, hey, can I buy you a drink? And I thought, they've known me for a long time. They're not going to do anything. It'll be fine. And they roofied me. Yeah. And so it was a pretty intense situation. They took my keys to my car and drove me up about an hour away from where I was. And because it was such a long drive, I actually was coming to. And so by the time we got to their house, I used my keys and I hit the person in the face. And I went in my car and I drove home because I was too afraid to actually call the police, because I thought, my God, if I call the police, I'm wearing a very sensual looking dress for just regular everyday. For salsa, it was more modest, but let's be honest.
Right, of course.
What are they going to think? I have alcohol in my system. I have some sort of drug in my system. I have no idea what happened. So I called a girlfriend, and she helped me to make it home. Looking back, these are these things that you cringe at, where you think, my God, I shouldn't have been driving. My God, I should have called the police. But I was in my early 20s and I was really scared.
Yeah.
So.
Too bad he lived to tell the tale.
Yeah, well, he did pay for it, but yeah, no, it was just this lesson. It was a huge lesson for me, where it was just like, okay, I've been doing martial arts, and I had been teaching for, I believe, at least 2 years at that point. And I needed something more concrete. I needed to have something that would work for myself and work for other women. So, so it's been great studying these other styles, and then also getting certification through ESD Global.
Cool.
Because I had these 2 really amazing instructors. One, her name was Arlene Lemus. So she was the first ever Olympic gold medalist in Taekwondo. And then the other one, her name was Liz Fitzgerald. So her and her husband, they're this, they have a cert defense, and they teach both the military and police force in the United States. And it's interesting because their advice when it comes to firearms or weapons is just simply run. Like they'll talk to you about other situational stuff, and you see all these videos about how to get rid of a firearm or how to take away a firearm, and I've studied all of those. But then also on top of that, she was just like, no, the biggest thing that you can do is run.
I've heard that
Yeah.
they're unlikely to actually be able to hit you.
Yes, after 9 feet, the percentage rate, accuracy rate goes down
pretty substantially.
Yes. Yeah. So there's that. One other, just, do you mind if I share a tip?
No, go right ahead.
Or a tool? A tool?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the biggest ones that a lot of women worry about is a stranglehold. So first off, I'm calling it a stranglehold as opposed to a choke. So if someone did attack you and you're trying to explain what's happening, you practice saying that I was strangled, or someone has me in a stranglehold. Because if you say you're choking, that could be mistaken for eating some sort of food and having it stuck in your throat. But one of my favorite moves, I call this one Scout's Honor. So I take my fingers, I weld them together, and there's this little V right here. And all you're going to do is, you can do this to yourself if you're watching. You're going to press in and down, and notice my voice changes. And so you just poke straight in, and it knocks the wind out of people. So that is one of my favorite moves.
I bet it is. Yeah. There's a lot of fairly sensitive points on the body that you don't really think of. A lot of people are like, yeah, go straight for the crotch. But guys are pretty conditioned to protect, and it's actually kind of hard to hit.
Yes. So here's the thing that I recommend with that is, a lot of people say, oh, go for the crotch. That is not my first go-to. I actually prefer, so a lot of people, they talk about punching. You have like 9 bones in your wrist, and most people, even professionals, are wrapping before a fight. So punching, you can get so many broken bones, or you can hurt yourself. I usually like doing a heel palm smash to the face, so you can aim for the nose or aim for the chin. And what happens is, oh my gosh, somebody is going for my face. I'm going to have my hands up. This is a perfect moment for you to grab their arms and then knee them in the groin.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Probably getting a twofer out of the deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I've obviously taken some martial arts, but the heel palm is really how people break boards with their hands. It's not a fist.
Yeah, it's not a fist. So so for me, yeah, I do board breaking. When I take people through an 8-week series, I have another woman who's going through a 3-month package, and basically at the very end, their empowerment, their certification goes through breaking boards. So they'll actually break a board, and it just shows them how powerful they've become through this process. Mm-hmm. But the other piece to that too is, using elbows. So elbows, heel palm, because your elbows are really strong. And the other thing too is just being aware of body type. So a lot of men carry most of their weight on the top, and women carry more so weight on the bottom. So if you can get the head, where the head goes, the body will follow. So I've actually taken one finger, and gone straight up on somebody's head, and then you can just press down and they'll fall right over. So
ingenious.
Yeah, there's lots of different moves, but for me, when I'm teaching self-defense, one of the things that I like people to remind people is that if it feels too easy, you're probably doing it right, and those are the ones that you're most likely going to remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's how it all works, right? Is that the easier to remember, the more you can make it part of like who you are and what you do, the better.
Yes. Yeah. And there's no one set right way. There's lots of different styles out there. So definitely trying out different things. Highly recommend it.
Awesome. Yeah. I was actually looking for a picture of Xena doing a flying jump kick over Ivan's head, breaking a board, but I don't have that one. It's one of her favorite moves.
That's so cool. I had her on. She did wonderfully.
Thank
I had a
you.
whole bunch of different comments and everything. And then I'm excited because I connected her with my friend Tracy. So she also did Taekwondo and she teaches self defense. So I'm excited for them to partner. That'll
That
be
is
pretty
really
cool.
cool. Yeah. It's a small world of women who do self-defense martial arts, I think.
Yeah.
And it's so needed. My daughter's instructors are Mrs. and Miss Jenkins. Mrs. Jenkins is 4'10". So she comes up to about my shoulder. And Miss Jenkins, her daughter, is a little bit taller. She's about 5'4". And it's been really, inspirational to learn from them and then learn the self-defense and really, see how important it is for girls to learn these skills and women,
Yeah.
even as early as possible, because you learn a lot of, how to avoid the situations.
Yeah. So, especially just as a tip for parents who have kids, if they are ever grabbed or something along those lines, one of the best things to yell is, "You're not my mom, you're not my dad." So there's lots of different programs out there. For me, I ran a middle school and high school program focused on self-esteem, body image, and self-defense training in Washington State. And then when we get back into in-person in schools here on the island, the top private school on the island, I'm doing a program for girls there.
That's awesome.
So that's really good. But I wish that was in every single school. I wish that self-defense was there. So we need more instructors and we need more women out there who are willing to learn.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I see Charlene trying to get on, and I'm waiting to see. So Charlene is going to be joining us here, but I am not seeing her on.
I see her.
Well, I don't see her.
Oh yeah, computer.
I'm
On
here.
the screen. There we go.
There. Welcome.
Okay, so can I turn my camera on, or what do you want me to do?
Go right ahead.
Okay, here we go. This is going to be all this technology here.
All this crazy technology. Hey,
know,
Charlene.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back.
Welcome.
Party's starting on the late hours of the night. This is what we do.
This is the crazy stuff we do as entrepreneurs. Thank you, Tasha.
Thank you for having me, Haley.
This has
Hey,
been a
Tasha.
great one.
Hey, Charlene.
Awesome. It was so awesome what you shared.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited
Thank
to
you.
listen and see how you what you have to share.
Awesome. Have a
Awesome.
great hike. Have a safe hike.
Thank you. Oh, let me get you back in. Hang on.
Okay, here we go.
Technology tried to chase me, scare me again.
We're ladies of the
Welcome.
night. We're the ladies of the night.
Ladies of the crazy night. Yeah, it's part of the fun of doing this whole online entrepreneur thing. But what time is it where you are?
It's 8:33 right now. So I'm 2 hours behind you.
Oh, so it's not that bad.
No, not bad at all.
Cool. So why don't you tell people a little bit about what it is that you do, Charlene?
I get to do something I actually love completely and wholly. I think a lot of people, can say that, but in the back of their mind, they're like, oh, but I wish I was doing something else. And I love what I do. I get to work with great entrepreneurs. And I think it comes from a place of serving. I think what I get to do in, marketing is the vehicle I've chosen. But the vehicle, marketing has so many different facets. You can bolt on different things. And of course, you know this, Haley, 2020 does not look like, 2000 or 1995 or even 1990. Marketing has evolved. So I solve people's problems by using marketing solutions that solve 3 big problems for companies: revenue, operations, and growth.
I love it. And I love the fact that you brought in the operations piece.
You know what? A lot of people don't realize that that's part of you have to have the system and processes first before you get the result you want. And how many times have you had that conversation, Haley, with someone and they're like, but I just need to throw $500 in front of an ad. And you're like, no,
Yeah, it's more often than not. And people think a lot of times they're hiring me to do Facebook ads or Google ads. And then we start, having these conversations. And I can't count the number of times that people are like, oh, because they don't think about how the operations has to be fundamentally tied into the whole marketing thing, because every touch with a client has to be tied into your marketing, and your back end system in your business has to be able to support the marketing. And if you can't support the clients and the customers once you get them and handle the volume of customers that you're getting, then you're wasting advertising dollars and destroying your reputation in the process.
Yeah.
Not that I feel strongly about this at all.
I think that's what's like great when two marketers get together. It's like the conversation was like, okay, that was just way above what I thought. I thought they'd say, okay, put $500, behind an ad and put $1,000 into your LinkedIn, ad spend. And they're shocked when I say, hold on, everybody needs to stop. Let's talk about your operations first. And then let's attach the strategy with your marketing and your sales funnel. And they're just like, but why? And I'm like, I'm hurting your feelings. I know. And that's what I'm supposed to do. If I'm really good at what I do, I need to hurt your feelings at the idea that it's all about ad spend.
It is not all about ad spend. And the other conversation I frequently have is, how much is a client worth to you? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, you're talking about doing Google ads and spending this amount of money. Are you able to spend $100 a client?
Right.
No. Okay, then we can't do Google ads, or we can't do whatever, based on the keyword volumes and the ad management costs, it may not make sense.
No. And, I just onboarded a client, and, he's a translation company. And one of his biggest things is, Shar, I want to sell my company. And I'm, oh, that's great. And, and he's doing great. And he's got great clients. And I'm like, okay, so what do you want? He's like, I want to sell my company. I'm like, okay, let's look at the process. Let's look at your sales and, marketing plans. Let's look at what you're selling. And he's like, that's not going to help me sell my business. I'm like, oh yeah, it is. Because everyone who's smart looks under the hood of a business before they ever engage in a conversation of selling or buying a business.
Yeah. And they want to know, do you have your customer lists? Do you know who your customers are? Right. I can't share in exact details, but I was working with a business earlier that had to sell a location earlier this year, and they didn't have an accurate count of all their clients at that location.
Wow. And it was like an epiphany for them. And you're like, how have you been functioning this whole time?
Well, we had advised them 9 months prior to the problem, and it can cost you millions of dollars.
Yep, it sure can. There's a franchise owner we're working with, Blow Dry Bar, 120 locations nationwide. And, first thing I said was, wow, their marketing, doesn't do this, this, and this. And the franchise owner's like, but I pay this amount every month. And I'm like, well, as a business owner, you need to ask these questions, because bringing me on won't help if they're not helping you. And it was just kind of the second thought for them. Like you just said with that client, like, I'm telling you ahead of time. And now they've actually found out that the marketing that the corporate entity wasn't doing for them is actually causing a lot of the franchises to close because of it. And
because they're charging you a lot of money, but not actually doing the work.
Exactly. And she is shocked beyond her wits, because everything I gave her in the audit report was everything that they've now discovered hasn't been done, literally pre-COVID and during COVID. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. You just wasted all that time and money. I'm not sure what else to tell you is going to happen next. But if you continue down this path, you're going to get what you get.
Yeah. Well, and then the problem is a lot of times with franchise owners that you can't do your own ads effectively, and you can't, because of the terms of your franchise agreement, you can't just randomly put up landing pages. Right. So good luck tracking and retargeting traffic. So you've lost a lot of your potential for advertising unless your franchise owner is doing that type of advertising for you.
Right. Totally. And part of the problem is that, they want the business in a box, right? They want to get this franchise and they want to just plug and play. And when they ask a better question and they realize that they didn't ask those earlier, I said, that's a 2-year gap that now you're going to pay for the next 5 years, 7 years of your contract until you can get out of it. And they just shake their head and they're in pain. So I feel for them. But like you said to your client 9 months ago, I told you this and you still didn't listen to what I gave you advice because I'm not married to it every day. I have no bias. I get nothing for what I'm telling you. I'm telling you this because I want you to do better.
Right. And I may look like the Facebook chick and the website girl to you, but I actually have a tiny bit of education and experience behind it.
Totally. Yep. I totally agree 100%. And it's the pain when I get a kid out of college, right? And they're like, I'm a CMO. And I'm like, oh, so what projects have you worked on? Oh, I did it in college. And I said, oh, okay. And then you get someone else who says, I'm a CEO. I said, oh, have you ever struggled with payroll? Nope. I'm like, then you're not any of these things. Like, you can't just give yourself that title. It is not possible.
Right. No, and it's painful because on like so many levels, and you see me just like holding my head because, I have people that come to me and they're like, well, we don't really need to do SEO on our website. We don't need to worry about Google My Business. And I see the look on your face and you're like, right. And,
yeah.
oh, well, we really only need to do such and such and so and so. And I'm like, first of all, can I see your marketing degree or an MBA or any kind of experience in the marketing field?
Right. Have you had anything that went over 6 figures? Have you helped? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
An Inc. 500 company, hit their $200 million goal. Like, until you can show me that, I don't think we can we're not talking apples to apples. We're talking oranges and apples and tangerines, and you're still trying to sell me the tangerine that's an apple. And I'm like, we're not on the same page. I'd rather do that now than later. And that's what I should do, not try to sell you fluff.
Right. Yeah. And it's not about selling anybody fluff.
Nope.
It's about education and strategy. And y'all, you need to pay somebody to help you with strategy.
And that's the biggest gulp we always get, when we're disqualifying the potential client in front of us, and they're like, why do we need strategy? I'm like, because if you're going to launch this product, your business is going to implode because you didn't have the customer service in place, you didn't have your manufacturing agreements in place, you didn't have your fulfillment warehouse aligned. And they're like, sure, we're just trying to make $100,000 out of this one launch. And I'm like, I know, but if I don't tell you these things, then I'm definitely not the person you should hire at all. And that's okay. I'd rather not be the person. And you could just go and ask your niece and nephew in the garage, who knows everything, because they're on YouTube all the time, and go right ahead.
Oh, I heard some kid who's in their 20s and they've got a ton of experience with Facebook. My personal favorite. And Bethel Casey says, whoa, wait. No SEO for blogging, no Google My Business. How can they still be in business? People a lot of times do well with business despite really bad marketing advice.
Right. And it depends on their product, right? If they have a niche market, for one. 2, if they, already have that circle, that community around them and their product, that's easy. And 3, and I want to be really honest, brick and mortar, there's some people who just want to touch a brick and mortar and they don't necessarily quote unquote need that because their word of mouth business has, lasted through time, and that's totally fine. But in this next change of landscape, they're asking that same question, is like, what do I do next? Now that it's totally not brick and mortar, people are going to Amazon, people are online, 70% for Christmas every year, and they're thinking why their product isn't selling.
Right. Yeah, totally. And I mean, it's interesting to me because you get a lot of people who are like, yeah, I talked to this kid in my office who, is a VA or whatever. And, he's given me all these tips for Facebook. And I'm like, that your Facebook account basically got locked down because somebody was posting on your account. We just literally spent 30 days appealing to Facebook to get permission to run ads.
But let's not hurt your feelings because, somehow we're wrong and it's okay. But we are not married to this every day, and that's all right too.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Yeah, we can sit here and tell battle stories all night long. And I mean, it's tough because a lot of times, what we're doing in this business is fixing a lot of the broken stuff.
Right. And that's why I always welcome the startups, because if they're just 10% willing to listen and go, okay, Shar, how would you launch it? Or Haley, what would you in this scenario? We're so much more excited for them because they're going to save time, money, and they're actually going to grow in I consider like a blueprint of their business faster and smarter
Mhm.
than the normal
Yeah.
person who's just trying to solve problems every day, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Or rather than the, wait, I paid somebody else, so I can't afford to pay you, but what would you do about it?
I know. I'm like the freebie people. You're like, guys, it's never going to work because your expectation of yourself and your business is not where I see your business and how you could actually do more. And until that lines up, it's really hard to convince someone. And Haley, you and I aren't in the convincing business. We're too busy and we've got too many good things to do that we don't need to convince anyone.
No, there is no convincing.
No.
There really is no convincing. So tell me who like ideal clients are that you tend to work with.
You know, 90% of my business has been built literally by referrals. We have had tremendous success. So that's the first thing. People who know us know what we solve, how we solve it, have brought us our ideal clients. And here's the characteristics of an ideal client. One, they're coachable.
Mm-hmm.
Some CEOs are just hell bent on their own sauce that they made in their kitchen, and I'm like, you're good to go for the rest of your life. Um, the second characteristic is that they're willing to adapt and change, because even though you're coachable, you've got to adapt and change. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, our clients literally came to us February 2020 and said, Shar, COVID's here, what do we do? And my number one rule to them was, are you willing to pivot, but pivot forever? Not just do this for COVID, but do this
Mm-hmm.
forever. And if it's not, then let's not change your strategy, because you've got to learn it. And if you're willing to, let me do that.
Mm-hmm.
The third characteristic, and you and I, Haley, really do well with this, is that they either have a system in place that allows us to make the changes quickly so that they can feel the impact in 90 days. We onboarded an MLM. They were truly successful because they had a product that the price point was $325. We came in, made a couple of adjustments, and in 90 days, we opened 14 states for them, and they hit $720,000. So
Fabulous.
that's rapid, quick. Okay, Char, let's get our CRM, let's get our digital designers out. I mean, it was rapidly a change and a pivot because they were willing to use their existing system. The last thing, and this is probably where I always tell everybody, like, you know how I am, you know my personality, you know how passionate I am about marketing and solving problems. I have to really believe in them. Like, I have to believe in them and their product or their service, because you're never going to get the best version of me. If I have to convince myself that this is the best product in the entire market, I'm not going to do you any good. So I actually tell the client, like, if I don't believe in it, it's hard for me to sell. It's hard for me to come up with strategies. It's hard for me to do the downloads because I feel like I'm not authentic. And so that's kind of like the last notch on the belt that has to, like, either be it or not. And I know that's harsh, but you and I have been doing this way too long to know that I've heard every pitch, every type of business. And if I am not in love with it or excited, or if I don't believe in that entrepreneur, if I can't see that they're passionate because they're teeter-tottering on a job, or, hey, Shar, I'm just putting, 2 hours a week and I expect 6 figures. I'm like, then we're not a good fit.
No.
Not at all. How's that line up with your ideal client?
Pretty similar. I'm looking for people who are coachable, people who want the coaching, who want the information, and who are willing to listen.
Isn't that so simple, but yet so hard to find?
And it's a particular energy. I mean, it's almost a particular like energy reading or mindset almost,
Right.
But there's got to be somebody who's business savvy enough to be like, yeah, okay, we can do this stuff.
It's your gut. Don't you think so, Haley? Like, a lot
Oh,
of
I
times
do.
it's got to be in your gut. Like, you just have to feel this person out in the business and go, all right, I'm solid. This is exactly win-win for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the person who sits here and goes, well, I've heard that on Facebook you do this. Okay,
I love
maybe
it.
not a good option.
or they read every free thing and you're like, okay, what do you want to do? And they're just regurgitating what they heard, and they're not willing to go, well, I'm willing to, upgrade in my CRM because I want to be able to engage, but I still don't know how it's going to work. And you're like, okay, I'm going to educate you and train you because I want you to take care of this. But if I have to do all the heavy lifting, it's not going to work because you're not going to do it when I'm gone.
Right. Precisely.
Yes.
Precisely. And it's about processes too. I mean, I think one of the craziest things from my perspective is not just the operations, but it's the processes in the business. You know, do you know what they are? Can you follow them consistently? Are they documented anywhere? Are they, something that you can repeat every day of the week?
We onboarded a company. They're 26 years in business, software dev shop, 125 employees, $300 million, totally. I mean, they got the box, right? They've checked every box. And they didn't have a marketing department. So they brought me on to build out their marketing department. And so we had to put, pricing, and here's the content writer, here's your admin, I've got to train this person. I've got to train your salespeople because they're kind of the lifeline of your business. We've got to redo your website. We went through the checklist. And the biggest thing that they could not understand until we simplified it, I guess, with their sales team, was that their brand and their sales team and their marketing was disconnected. They couldn't realize, they realized, like, why is that possible, Char? Like, how come our sales guys have 5 different stories? I'm like, because you're not even in sync with who you are and what you're doing.
And have you educated them?
Yeah.
And have you provided them the materials that they need to be successful? Because when it goes from being just the owner of the business doing the marketing to you have a team, there's a process there of sales and understanding what that is and how it looks and how you train them.
Exactly. And now it's like when they onboard someone, let's say they bring on a new salesperson, let's say they bring on a new dev person. We started doing dev forums for them. So nationally, they're launching on the Qualtrics and these different Pluralsight platforms. And everyone knows exactly who they are. Their dev team knows what the pitch is. And so it's like this, it's harmonizing. It's like the dev team knows and the sales team knows, but it was like so beyond them when we brought that up. And they were like, but Char, we heard we need LinkedIn and we need all. I said, before you even do any of that, let's get this straight, because your sales guys are going to be selling the wrong story. And this is a company who's successful. And I'm like, you don't need me. They're like, we've got some disconnect, Char. After that audit you did, I think we figured out that we don't know all the moving parts. And that was okay. They were willing to be coached and they were willing to learn. That's the battle.
And I mean, as I've said a lot of times, if you don't have a plan, you have a plan to fail.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Always. And that's repeatable because it's the same habits that you keep repeating that get you the same result.
Absolutely. Preaching to the choir. I'm like,
yeah. You could. Everyone's like, these two guys are just going off. We're like, we have story after story. Just ask us.
I mean, yeah, I could tell you year after year after year. I mean, it's the same thing.
It is. Haley, I'm black belt Lean Six Sigma certified, right? And so some people are like, what's that? I said, if you really want your processes built out and you want to know start to finish, those are the kind of questions you need to ask. And they're just like blown away going, what does that mean? What's that look like? I'm like, well, how did you repeat your success over and over again? Oh, you don't have a process. You need to sit down and lay out the process so that it becomes a scalable business. And it just is so different in their mind. And I don't know, I kind of go, I can't give you my degree. I can't give you my years of experience. I have to just tell you, follow me, listen to me, please.
Yeah. And that, Six Sigma Lean certification is huge if you guys don't know about it.
Google it. Go ahead and Google it and then be like, okay, that takes lots of years and projects and lots of clients who are not just, hi, I just want to, be a startup. It's like, if you want to be $100,000 in your first year, let me build it out beforehand so you know what to build forward. It's huge. People don't understand it. And Haley, I think this is common, right? Everyone can read a textbook. Everyone can do that. But until you have the experience bolted onto that, it never goes anywhere.
I agree.
And you know this.
100%.
And you know this every day. Every day you deal with this.
all day long. Yeah, I live and die by process.
It's not that hard. It's like how else do you function with or without it?
Exactly. Amazing stuff. Very cool.
Yes.
How would somebody go about getting in touch with you?
Well, part of our success is we've been posting our link, I think, in the WEN Summit, so people can just schedule, a time to chat, and we just deep dive and have a conversation. Other ways you can email me. I think I'm super personable. Obviously, you can tell. I just like, what do you want to do? Let's talk about it. Let's level up whatever we have to get done. So email me, info at the CMO Guru. You can definitely get me on my link. I've been posting in the group. I think one other thing too, Haley, hopefully through not only the summit and through, this late night ladies after, dark interview, just reach out to me on Facebook, connect with me. I think the biggest hurdle a lot of people have is that they don't want to ask a question because they should know it. And my rule to them is it's better to ask and figure out what you know and what you don't know.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yes.
Yes. So we are posting this in the Women's Entrepreneur Network, in the big group, on the Facebook page and on YouTube. So
awesome.
If you want to go and post your information there, that would be amazing.
Okay, I will put that in the comments and do that. Haley, thanks for taking the time to reach out to us. You are so awesome. People don't understand what we have to do. I'm like, Haley knows what she's talking about, everybody. Let's just come down to that place and just admit, it's okay to ask someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, let's get some help and save you money. I mean, a lot of times people look at me and they're like, what do you mean you're going to save me a lot of money? And I'm like, you have no idea.
Haley, the pain, I actually want to make a meme where there's a pain lever. It's not asking questions and asking questions. Which lever would you pull to save you the pain?
Right. I love it.
Well,
yeah,
Haley,
we need to get a graphic designer to do it. Thank you, Charlene. This has been awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much. Take care.